They miss us. We miss them. I don't know about you. I'm still in this little bit of a shock phase, right? That the sports world has come to a halt. Still doesn't feel real, but I know it feels off, and I'm not the only one who feels that way. One of the greatest players in the NBA, right? He's riding the same struggle bus as Nicole and I. LeBron James, he was on the Road Trippin' podcast. He talked about the effect that the hiatus is having on him, and he says that the rest of the talk of benefits and rest and load management, all that stuff right now helping players is counterintuitive. Feel free, Brian, to take this beyond the LeBron household, right? What are you hearing about the impact that this NBA hiatus is having on players' conditioning around the league?
It's all over the place, Randy, because there were certain players who have terrific equipment in their homes, like LeBron, probably has one of the best home gyms in Los Angeles. Some players have indoor basketball courts at their house. They're able to have workouts, but a lot of guys do not. Some teams disassembled their entire equipment room and sent equipment and free weights home with players, but most teams that I talked to didn't do that. Alex Caruso of the Lakers gave an interview yesterday where he said he's using a jump rope and a basketball in his garage, and that's it. So it's having a dramatic effect across the league. Teams are in contact with their players every day, but because they can't actually train them, they're losing touch, and this is actually going to slow the return of the league whenever that's possible.
We hear about that with baseball, that maybe spring training, that they need a month, right, to ramp back up. Any idea of a time frame pre-start or pre-resumption of the season to go ahead and get the players back in shape?
Yeah, nobody knows about that. We don't have any sense of dates, but I'll tell you this, in China, which I think is so relevant to what's happening in the NBA, their players have been practicing for 2 weeks, and they just postponed the league for 2 more weeks, and they could potentially be practicing for 6 weeks before the restart of their season.
LeBron also spoke, Brian, about the possibility of playing without fans, right, once NBA games do resume, and take a listen to what he had to say.
What is the worst sport without fans? There's no excitement. There's no crying. There's no joy. There's no back and forth. There's no rhyme or reason that you want to go on a road and just dethrone the home team because of their fans and vice versa. Like, that's what also brings up the competitive side of the players, to know that you're going on the road in a hostile environment. And yes, you're playing against that opponent in front of you, but you really want to kick the fans' ass too. I mean, I just don't know how we can imagine a sporting event without fans. It's a weird dynamic.
Brian, what's the likelihood that when the NBA season does resume, it'll do so without fans?
Almost 100%. LeBron, if he wants to play for a championship this year, is going to have to reset his expectations. He also talked about how he didn't want to be sequestered with teammates and other teams, potentially in a centralized location. I don't know if that's definitely on the board, but it's definitely a possibility. Again, that's what China is looking at, is clustering teams in a bubble where they can be protected. That's what I think the league may have to do. And LeBron is a voice of the rest of the league. He is speaking with emotion and the way he sees it. But the reality is, if the NBA comes back, at least in the short term, it's going to be in empty arenas or even empty aircraft hangars where they put down a court. And it's probably going to be in a centralized location where the players can be sequestered. And that is just something that players are going to have to start getting their minds around.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.